think the importance of our operational guidance and this particular programme, and it is a partnership, between the Local Government Association, the Chief Fire Association and London Fire Brigade, coming together to help all of you with operational guidance to keep our firefighters safe, have effective response and keep the public safer than we do already. And what's unique about this is the way that every single fire and rescue service in the UK, in Northern Ireland, Scotland, Wales, England, all included, have paid in and bought into this process. And each time we run a project, it's run and chaired by a different officer from a different service to really show that national engagement. And I think, in my almost 34 years in the service, is a unique partnership and a unique way we're working. So I'd like to thank you all as well for doing that.
In November 2011, I and my colleagues on the Fire Authority agreed to provide earmarked funding of £2 million per year over a 3-year period in order to set this up. And with this money we created a new team to review the existing and produce new national operational guidance. We couldn't do it by ourselves, of course. We had to get buy-in from other organisations. We managed to get the Chief Fire Officers Association, the Local Government Association and the Chief Fire Advisor involved at that stage, and we were able to provide leadership through the Governance Board. However, and this is the crucial point, we couldn't fund it beyond the first 3 years. The National Operational Guidance Programme would not be able to continue without the buy-in of all of the other fire and rescue services up and down the country. And a funding partnership was agreed for the second 3-year phase starting in March of this year, involving the devolved administrations of Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland, and the fire and rescue services and the Department for Communities and Local Government.
I'm going to now try to very quickly encapsulate a little bit more on how the thinking differs from stuff that's been done before in the Fire and Rescue Service and what we've delivered so far. The colour coding is reasonably simple to follow. Green is material that we've already developed. Red is material that we are developing and is actually this year now out for consultation. And white is the next 2 years' work, we hope, subject to, of course, us achieving the right level of funding. And we know that if we do achieve that funding and if we do get the programme laid out in the way that we wish, over the next 2 years we will turn every single one of those boxes green and we will finish the entire guidance framework right across the piece for the service. There will be a full framework in place.
The National Operational Guidance is now delivering and turning out this good quality guidance to the sector with the expectation that it is adopted or adapted. What that means is that it's adopted or adapted to your local standard operating procedures. This is achieved in West Midlands Fire Service and its region via a process of evaluating the guidance as it's produced, conducting a form of a gap analysis and integrating that national guidance in standard operating procedures. A process that we've worked as a region and with other fire and rescue services, namely Kent, on how we do that. This is enhancing public and firefighter safety, and it also delivers our aspiration as set out in our incident command for assertive, effective and safe emergency response.
It's being used every day within Scotland, and part of the reason that the success of amalgamating 8 fire brigades into one in a time of restricting budgets has been so successful is because the National Operational Guidance Programme was there at the right time for us. So actually link it in to make sure that we could do things correctly, and it was credible guidance that we were issuing. So when we moved from you're doing it this way, we're now going to do it this way as a service to keep our firefighters safe, etc. It was seen as best practice and got complete buy-in from effectively all the fire stations, all the firefighters within Scotland.
I think the thing that really made a difference to those decisions was being able to say that this was a project that was being owned by fire and rescue services across the country that genuinely had that buy-in and what was going to put itself onto a sustainable footing for the future. So we were in this difficult position, there was a lot of work to do, but actually doing that work and doing it in a partnership way would mean that we were in a much better position for the future.
I've got to say from the outset, we had some reservations as a union with regards to the process. We had some reservations in terms of how the work would progress and whether the products would be useful to the service. I've got to say to a very large degree, We've been extremely pleased with the progress that has been made, the engagement, I think as it says on the screen, hopefully it does, is it has been not just at the level that Roy was talking about, within, if you like, the let's call it the corporate or executive level, between the LGAC, FOA and London Fire Brigade, and more latterly with the devolved administration's representatives, but certainly with all stakeholders, including ourselves.
Because members, technically, should not be interfering with operational matters. Quite right. But we do need to know about leadership. We do need to make decisions and challenge our officers to make sure that the performance is correct, is right, and they are adhering, because at the end of the day, if things go wrong, it is the authority that then has the problem and goes to court, etc., as much as some of the chief officers as well. So it's really important that we are involved in these processes.
Where do I see us in 2018? Organisational learning is up and running. There's a best policy, practice and guidance where people know what information should be collated and sent down. There's a machine to consider that information and send it back. IFE examinations are fully reflective of the National Operational Guidance, and the people taking the examinations, and I say over 7,000 sat them this year in countries across the world, including the UK, will reflect the National Operational Guidance.
So the importance of policy and guidance and firefighter safety and public safety when these incidents do happen it is important to all of us. And that's why we're moving into what some called standard operating procedures. We're calling tactical guidance. So it's right down there at the front line entrance as well as policy. So the new thinking on that is make sure it's not repetitive. We can all of those have been operational firefighters. Remember those shelves of guidance in front of you, the brigade orders or the standard operating notes or the information system that you couldn't possibly remember all of it. So this does build on each other, not repeats itself, just gives you new information when you require it. So we have consistency, we have intra-operability and interoperability linking into GESM. But it's also flexible.